Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is the Mallorca Connection. And guess what? He's back. That's right. Roland FRIEDL, who's traveling through Europe in an RV, he is back with us this week. I'm so excited. Let's welcome him to the show and find out what he's been doing. Hello, sir. How are you?
Fine. Hello, Dr. JACALYN. Great to see you again. Great to be back on the show after 2 weeks of break.
I know we've really missed you here, and I'd love for you to share with our audience, what have you been doing? What have you been up to?
Well, actually, I was working for an international client. I had a 1 week with some crazy Americans with a lot of fun, and the second week with some crazy Canadians. We've been talking about how to help our customers manage change through innovation. It was a very intense workshop, and actually through the time difference, it was just the same time like the Mallorca show. But I missed it. To be honest, I missed the Mallorca show totally.
How was it working with the crazy Americans?
A lot of fun. Really a lot of fun. They're very open. To be honest, I love to work with Americans and Canadians because they're much more open than the Europeans. They're much more outgoing. Really, it was a lot of fun. It was very intense, by the way. It was really intense. New stuff for them. Although they have been very experienced salespersons, but it was new stuff for them. But they're very open-minded, very engaged, very dedicated to it. So it was really fun to work with them.
Yay. Thank you, Americans, for being on good behavior. I appreciate it. Roland, while you were gone, we actually have some new radio platforms that we're on, in addition to the ones we're on already, and in addition to the TV platform and the podcast. So I'm going to spotlight you, and if you could give a little bit about your background, and why do we have these boxing gloves behind us?
Yeah, hello everyone who is the first time on the Mallorca show. My name is Roland. As you can recognize from my accent, I'm not a Native American English speaker or British or English speaker, by the way. I'm just Austrian. I'm born in a little beautiful country in the middle of Europe, and I'm a world traveler. I always travel around the world since I'm a student. For the last 14 years, actually, my home base has been a beautiful island in Mallorca and Spain, but I'm always traveling. I'm very inspired by different cultures, different people, and yeah, what I'm doing is, that's why the boxing gloves in the back. Since many, many years, with a lot of experience in sales, as a salesperson, as a sales manager, also as the youngest member of board of director of an international company. I left corporate world, started my own businesses 25 years ago in different areas, and I gained a lot of experience. And this experience I share now more than 20 years with international customers, like I did with the one the last 2 weeks. And the boxing gloves are there because what I do, I'm not just a trainer and a coach or a consultant. I see myself and my team as sparring partner. We spare our customers. Sparring comes, sparring, being prepared for a box fight. And sometimes, reality is really hard. Competition is hard. The market is hard. That's why the boxing gloves are in the background as a symbol that will really make you fit for all the challenges in the market. That's my main business. And actually, since over 2 years, I dedicated my work for men. So I started a platform, Sparring for Men, where men have a safe environment where they can share their thoughts, their anxieties, their emotions in a lovely, warm-hearted place. And the next step from there was, and I'm very happy and very proud of it, that we started the first men show on USA Global TV and Radio. Wild at Heart, a show for men, by men, about men. And I guess this was the world absolutely need. Men have to talk and men need men to talk. I'm very excited by that. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. And if you're interested in more in my business, stay tuned. After this show, I'm one of the talking heads of one of those expert presenters with an amazing topic today about how to perform under pressure with a successful team. That's about. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. Good to have you back. And I'd like to
you.
also mention, in addition to being a co-host and running your own show for men and being a talking head, you're also one of our elevated listeners, meaning that you listen at a higher level without judging, without providing a solution, without interrupting, and of course, without trying to steal the show. So thank you for that. That is really admirable.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so important. You know, listening is about understanding, not just about giving an immediate response. It's just, first of all, this understanding. That's why it's so important. And I can encourage everyone really to enjoy this training course you're doing together with Madeline. It's absolutely fantastic. It's going to be a game changer for many people in different aspects of life. Become an elevator listener. Absolutely, I highly recommend it.
Thank you, Roland. We've got a great guest backstage we're going to bring out. I'll just share one thing. Madeline and I just met, in case you're wondering, Madeline Chan, the international award-winning singer-songwriter. She's an author. She's a vocal coach. She and I offer together the Power of Listening courses, parts 3, 4, and 5. And we have a brand new course with no numberless, so that anyone can take it. It's called Listening in and Through Plants. And you actually need, for your materials, to bring a plant and then several other things to build your own personal shrine to connect with your inner child. So look for more information about that. But back to the show. Tell us about our guest for today.
Yeah, actually, I met Richard. I told you a few weeks ago I was on this men's festival, actually my first one. As I'm working with men, so I had the chance to participate on a men's festival. It was an amazing venue, amazing conversation, really cool stuff. Amazing guys there. As I said, sorry Americans. It was not a pussy club. It was really real men there, and it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. And one of this workshops I attended was facilitated by Richard West. And I was so amazed about his personality, how he's talking, but also about the content. I said, this is so important. More people have to know about it. Not only men, also women. More have to know about it. And that's why I bring him on the show. And I met him, I guess, 10 days ago. I'm sorry, I'm working so much, I forgot the timing. We met again, we had a conversation, a nice walk along the Danube with my dog. We had a long conversation. And I said, okay, I want to bring you on the show. You have to share your wisdom, your knowledge to a broader audience. And actually, JACALYN, that's what we are doing on USA Global TV and Radio. It's about sharing and caring and connecting people. And that's, yeah, I'm very happy that Richard is here for that.
All right. Without further ado, let's welcome Richard West to the program. Hi, Richard.
Hi. So happy to be here. Hello. Hi.
It's so nice to have you. And please share with our audience where you're joining us from today.
I'm joining from Austria, though I'm originally from England. I've been living here for about 10 years now.
Well, we actually have a comment from someone in England. Hello, Adam Duval. Thank you for being here. Hello from England. We're always happy to know you're watching. So, Richard, Roland just shared that he met you 10 days ago or so. What were your thoughts when this stranger comes up and starts chatting with you and asks you to be on a TV show?
Well, I was very happy. I'm always happy to get new connections. I'm always happy when people show an interest in me and what I'm doing. It's a really nice sign that what I'm doing is being received by people, and I love just meeting people and getting new experiences.
Thank you so much. And for people who are listening on the radio and they can't read the banner, Richard is a spiritual facilitator and a relationship coach. And his website is www.parting, P-A-R-T-I-N-G, the waves, WAVES.com. Roland?
Yeah, Richard, before we go deeper in the topic, marrying the inner masculine and feminine, and also in the introduction, it really was a game changer for me, thinking differently about bringing this into balance, because it has an impact on every aspect of life. And I know that it's part of your coaching. Maybe you can tell our audience a little bit, what's your background and why you started doing this work? What happened to you while you're doing this?
Sure. I originally studied psychology, so I've always been interested in people and how they work. I'm also very into spirituality since I was a teenager, really, and I'm into the kind of spirituality which looks at who we are on a deeper level through things like meditation. And I trained for a number of years in self-realization workshops with an event called Open Hand, and then also became a spiritual facilitator through them, learning how to facilitate people's spiritual psychological processes. And yeah, I became what we call a relationship coach. That's the label I give myself. That happened when, actually, funnily enough, when I ended a relationship. And it was a relationship that I'd had for 8 years with the mother of my children. And during that process, I really learned who I was and how to communicate, how to go through this breakup process with somebody in a conscious way, and took it forward then to relationships in general.
It's a very interesting aspect you bring, and I can relate to it, because sometimes we really turn around and work on ourselves and something breaks, and we get a deeper understanding when we really face it. Yeah, when we don't run away and take this pattern, in example, a relationship, to the next relationship. So we really work on yourself. And I know that most people are afraid of it. Can you a little bit talk shortly about this process? I know it's painful sometimes to look at the shadow sides. Can I talk a little bit about this process?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. What I've been taught is that in order to really realize who we are, we have to look at the shadow side, which is everything that gets triggered within us, all our pain, all the aspects that we perhaps don't want to look at. You know, we as human beings, we are very conditioned to search after pleasurable experiences and to avoid painful ones. But this creates like an identity with the experience. It creates a separation with the experience that you're having. It's me against my experience. Yeah. So in order to work with this shadow side, we could say, what we do is go into that and fully feel it. And when we do that, it actually has the effect that it can be moved. It doesn't have to define us anymore, and it can come through us, and we can discover the truth in us that's underlying these processes when we look at what's causing us pain. Where have we been attached to things going a certain way? Where have we become dependent on situations or people being a certain way in order to feel complete in ourselves, in order to feel happy?
Richard, thank you so much for sharing that. And also thank you for your authenticity in the beginning when you were talking about the breakup and the fact that you share children with this person. And of course, this happens all over the world on a regular basis. And you still have to have some kind of civil relationship with the other person. What can you share at a high level for people who are going through breakups like that, where there are children involved and they have to stay in communication with the other person? Any tips that you have based on your own experience? Sure.
I would say that the number one thing that I learned in the process is that it's so important to be authentic at all times, or as much as possible. These processes can be extremely confusing, because there'll be a part of you which is still attached to that person, which still has memories or feelings within the body which associates that person with good times. And there'll be parts of you which recognizes that it's perhaps safer to move on, or more ideal to move on for you. And so you could be really like switching between states of wanting to be closer to this person and then wanting to be further away again. And it's been my experience that the fastest way to come through the process is to allow the feelings to come up, whichever way they might be taking you, and then to experience yourself and the reflections you get within that. That helps to speed up the process. And it's not always possible, but where possible, to maintain an openness in communication and honesty. Like I say, it's not always possible from the other side, but if you can do it for yourself, then you will know that at least whatever happens, whatever the outcome is, that you've remained true to yourself and you've kept your integrity.
I love this. Thank you so much. And just, I have found in my relationships, usually one of the two people is not happy about the relationship coming to an end. One of the two people maybe has strong feelings for the other person, whether it's love, joy, anger, resentment. And it makes it even more difficult when there are children involved. So for anyone going through this type of experience, given that you're a relationship coach, how do you let go if you're the one who has the strong feelings of love, or just this, you don't want to let go of that person that you've known for so long?
Yeah, I mean, there's no one simple answer to that question, because it's a very complex process. We're complex beings. What I would say is that it's important to, first of all, allow the feelings to come up and feel into them where possible. And it's important to recognize where you have made yourself dependent, especially emotionally, on the other person. So that could look like, well, I only feel safe in social situations when they're around me, or even financial dependence, things like that, and recognize what it is that you've been getting from that person, and then find a way to internalize that, find a way to find that in yourself. So for example, being dependent on that person to be the life of the party, for example, in a social situation, to drive that situation and follow them. It might be that you've taken on the energy of a follower, and so it might be a good idea to integrate more of an assertive energy, more of an energy which feels good in and of itself. And like I said, this is not as easily done as it is said, because it's a very complex process, but that is the goal in any kind of breakup situation, also in relationships when there's a certain amount of codependency involved. It's really to be able to feel complete in yourself, with or without the other person.
I have a question, Richard. When we're talking about breaking relationships, separating, this mostly is of course painful. From your point of view and from your experience, because we're talking about the marrying of the inner feminine and masculine, is this a reason why people or couples break up? Because one or both are not in balance with these both energies? What's your experience?
Very often that can be, I wouldn't say the reason, but it's something that very often lies deep behind it. So masculine and feminine are really, they're energies that we all have within us, whether we're males, whether we're females. And very often as men, we can become identified with the masculine. As feminine, we can become, as females, we can become identified with the feminine. And therefore we tend to play certain roles in the relationship. And it comes again back to this dependence, where the feminine becomes dependent on the masculine to, for example, guide a situation, to make decisions, these kind of things. Or the masculine becomes dependent on the feminine to nurture or to care for, or to be empathic, and these kind of things. So yes, it can certainly contribute towards a breakup, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Can you give us some examples? Let's start with the female first, and then with the male, and then with the male one. When a lady, a woman, a girl is not in balance, let's say she has too much feminine energy, not enough masculine, and then the other one. What's the impact, and how she can get back in balance?
Right. So, I mean, I generally want to take this away from an idea of women have to be a certain way and men have to be a certain way, because we all have both energies within us, and both energies will be present in some way, shape, or forms at all time. However, very often the feminine aspect of us is more present in females. It tends to be more in the driver's seat. So if somebody's out of balance in their feminine, if it becomes distorted in a certain way, they have too much of it, then there tends to be a kind of an acceptance of anything, like anything goes. This is particularly prevalent in sort of self-awareness and spiritual communities, because there's an emphasis put on acceptance. But it can become too much when we accept anything. Like there are times when it's not okay to accept a behavior from somebody else if it's abusive, or if it crosses a boundary. Also, there can be a kind of a living through others. The feminine is very wide encompassing energy. So it feels the experience of other people as well. And it can be very easy to lose your identity in that. This happens very often with mothers, or with parents in general, that they become so identified with that role that they lose themselves in it and live through their children. If you look at the feminine in it, when it might be too little feminine, it means, for example, that you might not be open to change. There could be a lack of empathy there. And there could be like a feeling of numbness, like avoidance of painful experiences. And when the feminine is really, really aligned, it takes into account everything around it. It's very perceptive, it's very intuitive. It sees the higher truth in things. And it allows the situation, it allows the flow into an expression of who we are. That's the feminine.
Richard, that was really fascinating. And as a question I have just about me personally, I'm very aware that I've been operating in my masculine energy. I don't want to say full on, but pretty much full on for many years now. And I think it's a result of working in corporate where I was with mostly men and then having get so many things done and cutting out all the chit chat and, oh, it's so nice to see you. And how are you doing? I want to get down to business. That's how I am. But I don't find that this is a problem for me. It might be a problem for other people. So I guess my question to you is, if we're operating in one or the other most of the time, is that detrimental to us? Can that hurt us? Or is that okay that we embrace that's just how we're operating at this point in time?
Well, most people are stronger in one than they are in the other. Like one will be just naturally more prevalent in them. And so if you're in environments where the other one is much more prevalent and you get and you get forced to mainly be in that, then that can create problems. Likewise, if you're even if you're environments where you're more prevalent, where your stronger energy is being invited and the other one is not, that can be unhealthy too. What is good to recognize is that whilst both are always present, there will always be one which is in the driver's seat. So if you're in a situation where the prevailing energy is the masculine and you're being invited to express that side of you, that's absolutely okay. But it's really helpful to recognize how the feminine can interact with the masculine within you, how it can support that expression. So this could be in ways such as allowing the expression to come through, whichever expression you're feeling. It can be in ways where it softens the energy somewhat. So the masculine is very direct, it's very focused, it's very practical, but that can have the effect of kind of steamrolling through a situation, and it's kind of like having tunnel vision. So the feminine can then come in and say, oh, hold on a second, like, what about this? What about that? Let's take all the aspects of the wider situation into account here. How are other people feeling? This kind of thing. So even in situations where this masculine is so prevalent, the feminine can still come in to support that.
Thank you. I feel safe because I know I am very concerned about how people feel and having empathy and compassion. So how about you, Roland? What would you say you're operating in your masculine energy most of the time? Feminine?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm also very focused, very forward driven. Absolutely. But I learned that it's when you overemphasize it on the long term, it's not very healthy. So it's not very healthy. So I'm learning more and more, bringing more female aspects, feminine energy in my thinking, in my acting, and yeah, being much more empathic than I always been, and as Richard said, let's the feminine energy support the masculine energy, and this is something that I really learned, and it's very, very helpful and supportive. And what I also learned about it, it's for me, when I experience it, it costs me less energy. So when I'm very much in the masculine energy, at the end of the day, I'm really, really exhausted. But when I bring it more in balance, I feel at the end of the day much, much better. Yeah, absolutely.
And Richard, what about you? How would you categorize yourself?
That's a good question. I used to believe that I had a very strong feminine energy because I was quite or still am but my empathic side was coming through a lot. And then when I turned 30, suddenly the masculine kicked in, and now I'm expressing that side of me a lot more, and it all depends on the situation. So it's really good to feel into which energy is being invited of me now. Which energy can I express to help the wider flow, to express myself within the wider flow. So the masculine, for example, it's really all about self-expression, because what you're doing is to use perhaps a triggering word, it's like you're penetrating the situation with your individuality. So that's how the masculine can come into something and express your truth in a very, very clear way. It's a very assertive energy. It's very focused. Applies willpower to the situation. These kind of things. Yeah.
I can absolutely relate to this, what you just said, Richard, because all the years I was very outgoing. As you said, you're penetrating as an event, you're very, very outgoing, giving, focus, giving, outgoing. But this also, what I sometimes I get really lost in material stuff because I was too outgoing and I really didn't care about my inner world and being more by myself and just really expressing outgoing, being on events, being the star speaker there, being highlighted there, being waved there. It was nice, but as I said before, it sucked energy. At the end of the day, I was really exhausted. And that's what I learned, to get more insight. I'm learning about myself and being more internal than in my inner world than in my outer world. I guess it's so important. And I would love to, after the commercial break, to go much deeper, how you can help men to be a little bit more focused and not be afraid to get a feminine identity, because something different, but letting feminine energy into, because it's so important.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, and I just wanted to say as well, it's really useful in a situation to let the feminine come through first, because it takes in the environment, it takes in everything around it, and then the masculine can focus that and say, right, where do I stand within this? So I've made it a practice to be in the feminine first, and then let the masculine drive that.
I like that. Good direction.
Very good.
Thank you. We're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors. Then we'll be right back on the Mallorca Connection here at USA Global TV and Radio. Stay with us.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Garden. Your host, Diane Boehm. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Diane Floyd Boehm tells wonderful stories that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and unite people and families across generations. For children, Diane's Harry the Camel connects with all of us who've ever wondered how different our lives might have been if only we'd been born something better, like a wonderful horse instead of an ordinary camel. In the end, we all learn along with Harry that there's nothing better than just being yourself. Diane's Little Girl in the Moon looks down on earthbound children and wonders if they know she's just like them. A story of love, home, and the bond between mother and daughter, its powerful theme that we're each of us different yet all of us the same plants a seed in children that promises to blossom within a loving and trusting grown-up. Diane's new biography, Rise, recounts the experiences of her grandmother, Ruby, to reveal the hidden strength of the human spirit. Ruby's story inspires all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. You'll find all of Diane's delightful books and much more at DianeFloydBoehm.com. Visit DianeFloydBoehm.com. That's DianeFloydBoehm.com.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
other guests. And it seems that this is a real challenge for people all over the world. First of all, understanding that we have an inner child and why it's so important to let that inner child out, to reconnect with that. And I need to do that. I'm raising my hand. But can you share a little bit more about the whole concept of inner child?
Sure, yeah. So just like the masculine and feminine energies are energies which dance within us, we also have an inner child. Now, the inner child it can be an identity which gets formed in the early years, usually between around the ages of 2 to 4. And it's a consciousness that gets formed as we begin to we begin to recognize that we are individuals and that we have our own impact on the environment around us. It's kind of, if you like, you could describe it as the first the first step to losing our innocence, in a way, to going from that pure state of being to realizing that actually things are separate in this physical world. And so it's this interesting interaction between the innocent side of us, the side that just loves to be, which loves to explore, to be curious, and the side of us which is vulnerable to its environment and how that affects us in our identity.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Roland, over to you.
Well, I'm still on this journey, to get to know my inner child and more, actually more and more to accept my inner child. That's because I was raised in a very tough background. At home, a very strong dad. I was, no tears, no emotion, no weakness, day stuff. Then I went in school in a monastery. What even worse, even more. Then military background like that, and I remember. A few years ago, when I did my first ayahuasca journey, and I was so afraid when this overwhelming feeling came to me, and this demon came out, meaning my dark side came out of me, and I was so afraid. And the shaman came to me, and I will never forget. He said, "Roland, keep breathing into your heart." And I said, oh, "There's no heart. There's nothing inside. There's nothing. There are no emotions. There's nothing." So over many years, I trained myself not to show emotions and not to feel emotions. And now I learn it more and more. So how important this is, and also to recognize my inner child and to face my inner child. Yeah, absolutely. But it's never too late. It's never too late. What's your opinion, Richard? I guess we can always start, yeah, to speak about self-relation, accept the inner child. No? What do you think, Richard?
Of course, absolutely. I mean, physical age has nothing to do with our inner consciousness. Our inner consciousness is eternal. There's a part of that stays the same no matter how old we are. So we can always look within and find out more about who we are, for sure.
Richard, while we have you on, oh, sorry, I just have a follow-up question. Can you just talk through the process of what it's like to work with you? So if people are interested and they say, yes, I want to hire him, what do they actually do, and how do you actually work together with them?
Sure. So I have a number of ways people can work with me. I do individual sessions, and I have programs as well, where a person may be taken on more of a journey, for example, in relationships and communication. But the way I work with people is first of all, I listen. So I come from the feminine in that respect. What I do is I catalyze a process which is already happening. So what my responsibility as a facilitator is to ask the right questions, and to recognize what underlying processes might be going on, put my finger on certain energies or certain buttons which can just bring people deeper into the process. And what I try to do is just hold a safe space for exploration and give people that space to really go deep into what's going on and to become more clear in that process, to really say, right, okay, this is where I am and this is where I'd like to get to. All right, what's the next step? How can we get there?
Thank you very much. Roland, I know you had a comment or a question.
Yeah, on the thing you mentioned, that's why I was asking you. You said this, it's never too late, because I'm heading to the 60s, so I'm celebrating my 29th year anniversary of becoming 30. And some of my friends, when you have open conversations, said, "Okay, I'm working on my inner child. I do this and I do this. I go to workshop. I work on men's group. I go to a men's festival." So I started this work. And some of my friends the same age said, "Yeah, I'm now 50 something or in my 60s. It's all right now. I think the next 20 years I can make it through and all is good." But they're suffering because they're so afraid about their inner work. So I think it's so important that men get an access and do this and meet other people, meet other men, and do this work. And as you said, once the first step is just starting, and for example, contacting you and starting the inner work, because when you recognize this, that you said, "Okay, I'm ready to call somebody," I strongly believe that the healing process already starts.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah. As we get older, it's very easy to become fixed in the way we like to do things. You know after a certain age what you feel comfortable in, what feels good for you, what doesn't feel good. You've developed coping mechanisms of when you experience pain, which tend to work in the way that that you relieve the pain, but it doesn't necessarily work in the way that it heals you on a holistic level. So when you recognize that, then the step can be taken to, okay, now what's the work that really needs to be undertaken here to heal more on a holistic level.
Absolutely. What I really want to share shortly with our audience, because I'm also in this process of learning and doing, getting to know myself. Always when I go somewhere, when I book a session, I always have 100 excuses why I don't go. When I'm in the workshop, sometimes I really feel bad. I feel tired. I have to go to the toilet. And for me, it's all what I learned is a sign. Oh, something is going on. A transformation is going on. You will learn something. You will be challenged. Stay. Afterwards, it's better. So it's normal when you're afraid, when you're scared, when you have excuses not to come, not to show up. Go. It's always a sign that you're on a good way.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that, Roland. We do have a comment from Sabrina Barth. Hi, Sabrina. Where are you joining us from today?
Hi, Sabrina.
Do either of you know Sabrina?
I do.
Nice.
Sabrina is my partner.
Oh, hi, Sabrina.
Nice. Hi.
Great. Lovely to have you tune in.
Nice to have you with us today. So we are out of time. She's a follow-up comment. She's in Austria. Yes, I figured that. Thank you. So a question I have for you, and I think we might have to have you back to discuss this. I'm just going to put something personal out there. I don't feel like I've ever been in a relationship with a man that was really beneficial or caused me to grow in a positive way. So I've just decided I'm not going to be in any more relationships. And therefore I don't have to feel any pain that would come with them, which ultimately would. Is that something I need to work on, or is that okay to just have that perspective?
Well, first of all, it's completely okay to decide not to be in a relationship. Relationships are a fantastic situation, a fantastic ground in which we can learn more about ourselves, because everything's going to come up in that situation if you approach it in an open way. If you want to experience intimacy with somebody, then you will need to make yourself open and vulnerable in a certain way. And so it's completely fine not to be in a relationship, because that also is a journey, and it can strengthen our own inner energy, our own perception of right, well, this is who I am, this is how I like to be. However, it's good to question why you are in that situation, why you choose to be in that situation. And if the answer is avoiding pain, then that might be something that needs looking at.
All right. I just got therapy session right here on the air live. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Richard. Richard, what is the best way for people to reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
Well, I would like anybody to contact me who wants to work on themselves, who's dedicated to finding more about themselves and their and self-awareness, and anybody who would like to improve their relationships, either with partners, with family, friends, co-workers. I work in a way where it's very much focused on the individual process, because if we can learn more about ourselves, if we can self-realize and then learn how to express ourselves in a way that that is aligned with our environment, then that's the best way to heal in a process. And you can contact me through my website, partingthewaves.com. There's links to a Facebook page and a Facebook group there. I have a Facebook group called Self-Realized Relating. All those links are on my website, partingthewaves.com. And I'm very happy to be in contact through email. If anybody wants to ask any questions, please go ahead.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Richard. It's been a pleasure having you here today. And I hope that you'll come back and visit us on this show or any of our other 25 weekly live broadcasts.
It's been a pleasure being here. I've really enjoyed it and exploring this topic with you guys. And and there's so much more we could talk about. I would love to come back at some point and discuss further. Yeah.
We will for sure. We will for sure. Richard, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for sharing this to our audience. I guess it's so what the world really needs to do, work on themselves and get in balance for a better relationship to themselves and to the outer world too. Thank you so much, Richard.
And I think another key learning is it pays to say hello to someone and strike up a conversation, because you never know where it's going to go.
Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
The feminine, be open to whatever happens. And then use the masculine to come in and take that initiative and be there as yourself. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Thank you again, Richard, for being here. And thank you, Sabrina. And thank you, Adam, for your comments today. We appreciate it. Bye for now.
Thanks, Richard. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you so much for bringing him to the platform. I really enjoyed the conversation today, as always.
Absolutely. We both learned. I learned that I have a feminine part. Yes, I do. I'm open.
And I actually learned that I am operating more in my feminine than I give myself credit, because I am very much about connecting with people, supporting people, the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. So, all right, I'm a little more balanced out than I thought I was. So that's good.
Very good.
Roland, your show's coming up in just a few minutes, so we have to say goodbye, but please do tell our audience what you'll be presenting on. I know you talked about it at the beginning, but once again, for people just joining us, Talking Heads, our expert presenter, Roland FRIEDL, will be right back after this.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I do a couple of episodes, and the main topic on this model, the second model is already running, is performance under pressure. I guess that's the prime issue of everything, whatever you're doing in life, you're running a business or you're in sports or whatever. It's prime issues, control of attention. And today is already module number 10, points of success. So we're going to talk about what it needs to perform under pressure successfully, especially when you may be running a team or a family, whatever. So join us on the Talking Head Show coming up in the next 6 minutes.
Yes, we've got to say goodbye. So thank you, everyone, for being here. You can stay wherever you are. Roland and I will go over to the other studio. And that's all for now. Goodbye, Richard. Bye, everyone.
Bye.